This guy built a startup powering 150 million notifications a month and started a new category: notification infrastructure. Sam invited us to his New York office to show us exactly how they validated the idea before quitting their jobs, how they closed their first customer in 2 weeks, and how they led this new category that formed around them. Sam's business is aiming at developers, but the crazy part is he had never made a single dollar selling to them before.
I read everything I could on how to sell.
Sam's journey started with a naive question: could he reproduce the notification system of Slack?
By the end of that weekend, we felt like, yes, this is possible. This is a product that you could build.
In this video, he shares everything: how they closed Webflow and other iconic customers, why he doesn't believe in optimizing for short-term decisions, and the tactics they use to reach 2.5 million end users. This is the story of Knock.
Hey Sam, how are things?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. Great to see you. Tell me, what are you guys building?
Yeah, so we're Knock, and we're building notification infrastructure for developers and product teams. We power all the product notifications for products like Vercel, Webflow, Vidyard, and that's everything from out-of-app channels like email, push, and SMS to more like product-first channels like their actual applications, so feeds, inboxes, Toast messages, Slack channels, Microsoft Teams, all that. And what makes Knock different is we are a developer-first messaging platform.
How did it all start?
My co-founder Chris and I, we met at a company called Frame.io. We worked in the trenches together for years, and we just knew like, hey, if we ever find an idea we really believe in, we should start a company together. Fast forward to the pandemic, and we were all locked in our apartments here in New York, and Chris and I started to talk about what are some of the problems that we faced in our time at Frame.io that other companies and other teams might need solved for them. And there were a few that we were talking through, but pretty quickly, notifications got to the top of that list. It's the system that no engineer joins a company like Frame.io to build notifications. They want to work on the core product. Notifications are really at the core of any company's growth and engagement motion. That was the case for us at Frame. As a product person at the company, it was very hard to understand how effective are these notifications? Are we driving a consistent experience across the product? And again, for the engineering team, it was a death by 1,000 paper cuts type of problem. There's a famous diagram or flow chart that you may have seen of Slack's notification system and all the different decisions that happen from you sending a Slack message to another user being notified by the product. We took a whole weekend and we just kind of broke down each little component of that system, and we asked ourselves, could we design an API that would be able to power notifications for something as complex as Slack? And by the end of that weekend, we felt like, yes, this is possible. This is a product that you could build. And that's how we got started on the idea that became Knock.
Building Knock, as Chris, your co-founder, was having all these gigs as a freelancer, and you were still working full-time at Frame.io. Must have been super tough. How did you navigate that?
Even though we knew we had felt that pain at Frame.io, we still felt, hey, let's spend a few months to validate this idea. Let's start thinking through what the product might look like, how we might actually solve the problem, and is that a solution that other teams would resonate with and would want to pay for? And when we did decide to go all in on it, there are always doubts, right? I think for all founders, we just didn't do a very good job of distilling, the problem, the solution, our pricing model. Part of talking to that many people was one, just surveying the market and trying to eliminate that doubt of, do enough people need this product? Part of it is also just getting better and better at distilling exactly what it is you're doing, how you frame that to people.
After 6 months talking with potential customers, sharing this pitch deck, running your alpha, you made your first sale. How did it happen?
We got through 2020, we built this alpha product. We used that to demo and get our first design partners. We also used that in our fundraising process at the start of 2021. We were able to raise a pre-seed round, and now we had no actual customers, no actual usable product, and a little bit of money to support us going full-time on this. At that exact moment, one of the people that we had spoken to the year earlier, this startup called Kalepa, actually based here in New York, they reached out and said, hey, you mentioned you'd have this beta ready, like we're ready, we want to use it. We're like, wow, okay, it was a good sign, but we weren't exactly ready for it at that point. We went to YC's a library of startup materials, we found their sales agreement, we just quickly drafted up a contract, they signed it, and at that point we had 2 weeks to actually build a usable beta version of the product. We wanted in the product, and a few key things changed. Chris just went beast mode and built the entire beta product in 2 weeks. The night before the actual demo that we had scheduled to them, Chris shipped our sign-in flow, because you can actually sign into the product before that point. He shipped support for their email provider and got it all done like an hour before the demo. And then we just went straight into it, went off without a hitch, and we were rolling and had our first paid customer.
Knock was selling at this point, but it wasn't scaling. Why is that?
March of 2022, we had been in private beta for a year. We had the paying customers that we met in that private beta, and then we launched publicly on Product Hunt in March of that year. A few months after that, it felt like people love the product, they're using the product, but they're mostly startups, and we had committed to a very developer-friendly go-to-market motion. So we wanted you to be able to use the product for free, whether you were the technical co-founder at an early-stage startup, an IC developer at a large company as well. It was great in that we were seeing, probably like 50 plus different companies using Knock in production at that point, but ARR was still under 100K. And I think around the middle of 2022, a lot of investor sentiment changed and people wanted to see, 1 million ARR businesses. They wanted to see good unit economics. And we realized, hey, we're gonna need some more time to go out and find larger customers to use Knock.
Hey, real quick. So you're building a B2B SaaS. Let me show how you can turn your product usage into revenue. Imagine you can figure out who uses your product, what features they use, and pass on this information to your success and sales teams so they can engage with your customers with the right message at the right time. In June.so, we already built the reports you need, including dashboards for each of your customers and a way to pass this data to your favorite CRM. For instance, Vev, a no-code web builder, implemented June to get visibility into how customers are using their product and to keep their CRM up to date with real-time product data. It's simple. They added June with one line of code, connected their CRM, and voila. If you want to turn how people use your SaaS into revenue, then check out June.so. I'm leaving a link below. Enjoy the rest of the video. So after this year of patience, you started to grow the business really fast and reach 150 million messages per month sent. How did you achieve that?
I mentioned in that kind of period of pain and the business growing a little bit slower than we would have liked, we had lots of smaller companies using Knock and having a great experience, but we realized hey, we're gonna need to get in front of some mid-market and enterprise organizations and prove to ourselves that you can use Knock even if you're not starting from scratch. So the first thing that really happened is we started to learn how to sell Knock. Chris and I, we both came from product and engineering backgrounds. In our past companies, we had been in sales meetings, but we hadn't been the people responsible for driving them. I read everything I could on how to sell. I read the Challenger sale, which is kind of a meme to say that now, but I do think every founder that's engaging in founder-led sales should read the Challenger sale. Before middle of 2022, the Knock demo was a 30-minute call. We'll show you the highlights of the product. You can sign up yourself, read the documentation, and hit us up if you have any questions. We matured a lot in our sales motion after that point. So we started to qualify calls with potential customers. A second call to really dig into the requirements, really understand what problem are they really trying to solve, and are we even the right solution? And then using that requirements context to give them a very custom demo and walk them through the product as they'd be using it. End to end, our sales process just got a lot tighter and we got a lot better at understanding how to demonstrate value to larger organizations. Part of it is we also got lucky. So the word of mouth motion of startups talking about Knock on Twitter, eventually that caught the eye of engineers at companies like Vercel who reached out and started playing around with the product. Vercel was one especially where we said, okay, top priority in the back half of 2022 is doing whatever it takes to bring on Vercel as a customer. So, we had all of our notifications on loud on the shared Slack channel with that team. They have a very high quality bar at Vercel. They brought a lot of great feedback to us. A lot of that feedback we would turn around in, if not a couple hours, then a day, 2 days. For the larger requests that they had, a hack that we kind of unlocked, it might take a week or 2 weeks to build a certain feature or add support for something to the API, but it would take a day or 2 days to really think through how should it work and to write a Notion doc that reads as example API documentation and get that to them, show that we're moving quickly, and also use that to get feedback as early as we can from a real customer who's going to be using the product in production at really meaningful scale. Yeah, another important thing that happened for us in this period of growth inflection was a category formed around us. And I think a lot of people will talk about category definition and doing it yourself. I would love to say that we thought of our category on our own and created it, but really the category of notification infrastructure kind of formed around us organically. There's some other great companies out there that found the same problem that we did at Knock and are working their hardest to solve it. And the market objective people out there that aren't affiliated with any of our companies started to write about the top 5 notification infrastructure vendors. G2, which we slowly realized was an important place for us to make sure we were getting reviews and showing up in categories that had existed there for a long time. They created a notification infrastructure category. And for larger companies and enterprise and mid-market buyers to find us, a lot of them would find us by finding our competitors, going to look up alternatives and finding some of these articles that had been published about this category that, again, organically formed around us.
I saw that crazy stat that 71% of all the apps in install are caused by noisy notification. And since this is your job to make sure these notifications are great and legit, you could organize some of the notifications that a couple of famous companies are sending.
I'm game, let's do it. Clothes store, hey Lisa, this is a special discount code only for you. It's valid for 3 days. Use it now. Promotional notifications are tough, right? Like, especially in this day and age, like you mentioned. I think if you're sending something promotional, it's got to be really specific to that person. Money emojis making me think, maybe they want my money. Let's put that C status. Duolingo, hey, it's time for your Spanish lesson. Hurry though, your family misses you. See if you can translate this one for them. Lío conmigo y tu familia lo tendrá de dos. I like this one. One, I think Duolingo does a better job of in-app nudges, notifications, gamifying that experience than most of the apps that I see out there. I like the call out to hurry up and get back to your family. I like that they're including something that's specific to me, right? They know that I'm trying to learn Spanish. The best part is they've given me this little kind of nudge here of like, see if you can translate this for them. I'm gonna go S on this one. I think Duolingo's really figured out how to drive engagement loops in their product. Ticketmaster just announced Eric Clapton at the Chastain Park Amphitheater on May 3rd. I like Clapton. I'm going to assume that this was sent to me because I'm within driving distance of the Chastain Park Amphitheater. I'm going to assume they understand something about my listening preferences. I have a kid at home, so I'm not getting to many concerts at 7:30, but I'm going to assume that this is on a Saturday and they understand that it's possible for me to attend this. So I'm going to go, I almost want to go A on that, but I'm going to go B here as well. Tinder, oh boy, a new person is giving you a chance. Probably not gonna work out though. A little bit of a diss to the receiver here. I like this in that it's pretty transactional. This is driven by another person on the other side of Tinder interacting with that product. Real organic user engagement is like driving messaging to other users. Like that, I think, is the type of notifications and the type of messaging that your product should be looking for. The promotional piece is less so. I think you have to be really careful with that kind of messaging, but this is the type of like multiplayer transactional messaging that we really specialize in at Knock. So I don't think I'm gonna go to the S with this, but I am gonna go A.
You once told me you were optimizing for long-term decisions more than short-terms.
Yep.
What does it mean?
Startups tend to overvalue short-term growth and undervalue long-term durability. And if you look at the free cash flow forecast for any like high-growth business, most of the value in that business is accrued, like not in the early years, it's accrued in years 8, 9, and 10 of that model. There's a quote I like from Charlie Munger where take a simple idea and take it very seriously. At Knock, the simple idea is we're building to create long-term, durable value. And when you take that idea really seriously, that really informs like the culture that we've built at Knock.
Sam, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it was a lot of fun.
It was a great chat. If you are a developer or a product manager and you want to implement a notification system, then check out knock.app. Until next time, thank you for watching and see ya.